Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kizma. I'm Nick, and today we are continuing with our series on working with the law and diving into the law of compensation. If you want to see the show notes and any of the books that we recommend that are associated with this, you go to illuminationacademy.net/INK127. And now, let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kizma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. Hello, Kizma.
Well, hello there.
How are you?
I am good because we're talking about the law and I love talking about this stuff. It's the best. It's the best.
I love how you geek out on it.
I know.
We're in our new office today.
Yeah, we moved offices around the corner and I had people stopping by. We're still at Common Grounds, little shout out at Common Grounds, Carlsbad. And I moved around the corner. It's a little bit more quiet. And I had some ladies stop by and say, "We're so glad you're on this side. The energy's better already." It's like, I didn't know there was anything wrong with the energy here, but I'm glad I'm zapping y'all.
Yeah, it's all good.
Right.
It's funny. You just needed a change.
I needed a change.
This is a very Kizma thing I've noticed.
Change.
You just decide that it's time for a change and then you go make a change.
Change is good. I mean, especially I've spent many hours here coaching, meeting people, doing healings, doing trainings. And I think sometimes change is good. And that office was nice. It was a little echoey. So I'd be on calls and I'd be like, do I need to whisper? I like it. It's cozy.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it was a good shift. Yeah. So way to go.
Yeah. Here we are.
Talking
about the law. So what are we covering today?
This is the law of compensation.
The law of compensation.
For those of you who are not familiar with this one of the ways that you can look at this is kind of like a subset of the law of karma.
Oh,
so
man.
Karma, the law of karma is a very overarching principle. And this is something that kind of falls under that and helps us to look at how, I think in a little bit more clear way of how things flow in our lives.
I kind of see it as the law of karma, we know is cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. The law of compensation to me is like we get more personal responsibility, even though we're responsible for our karma, but it's like kind of dialing it into our thoughts, our words, our expectation.
Yeah.
Our perception, really.
That's the same thing that I dig about this one is that it really brings it into a level where we can see it start to work in our lives.
Yeah.
Because lots of times conversations about the law of karma get way off into crazy town land about, all sorts of like
past
natural
lives,
natural disasters, like all kinds of horrible things that people are trying to sort out that do fall under that law that just gets really into crazy town. The law of compensation really brings it into the context of our lives in a way that I think is very, very beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives us I'm excited to talk about it because I'm hoping all of you listening by the end, you're going to have some inspiration on how to actually pivot things in your life.
Yeah.
And none of this is to make any of us feel like, oh man, I so messed up and I'm causing this horrible stuff. It's more about, whoa, you mean I can change my perception? I can change the way I'm speaking and actually change what comes to me? Yes.
Right.
So stay tuned.
Yeah. He kicks off the chapter as he does with these quotes. This is Working with the Law by Raymond Halliwell. So this is the same book that we've been on for several weeks now. And it's pretty amazing. If you don't have a copy, I'd highly recommend.
Link in the show notes.
Go hit the link in the show notes and grab yourself a copy because it's really rich and really wonderful. He kicks off the chapters with a quote, and this is one that should be familiar to our listeners. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Yep.
You reap what you sow. Right? As a man thinketh, though he become. We see this in so many different iterations of this law. And what I think, is brilliant about this book is that that's the seed of it right there.
Right.
The whole teaching is actually right in that simple quote that we see throughout the Bible as well as other spiritual texts.
For sure.
So I want to skip ahead though, and he gives this really interesting take on it. And he says here, let me lift up my book. In the study of the laws of truth, we learn to apply them so that they will dissolve all our adverse thoughts and conditions. I mean, right there is like,
dude,
it speaks to the title of the book, Working with the Law.
Right. And not against it, not changing it, not mutating it.
Right.
Working with.
And I think that's the essence of what we're really talking about, not only through this series, but in all of our work, is how to work with these laws of nature, with these natural laws, in order to find a higher version of ourselves, to live up to a higher level of our potential.
Absolutely.
Right? So he's working with the laws. That's the purpose of it. And he goes on to say, the laws of successful living are the same as the laws of science. The supply and the possibility is ever the same at hand. But it is our problem to change the use or application of the law in order to bring about conditions better than those we have had.
Oh, so good. So good. And again, the laws, it's not about bending work. It's about understanding how to use these laws to our benefit.
Yeah, he says that right there. He cannot change the law to suit his mistakes, but he must change his use of the law in order to correct application.
Well, how many times have we tried to do that?
Right. How many times, I just want to change everything else to suit my, to suit whatever it is that I'm doing wrong, whatever idiosyncrasies about my behavior or my thought or my choices that tend to sabotage a higher level of success for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you nailed it. Like, I love that you said that at the beginning, is about personal responsibility.
Right.
And how important that is when we approach this work, is to truly assume, even if you're not really sure how it all works or how it all looks, but to assume that you are 100% responsible for your creation.
And one thing that he points out, and this I think everyone's going to understand, is that if we want something to be better in our lives, then in what way can we be better? And he talks about right off the bat, remember we talked about the law of order, the first law.
Yep.
And so looking at our house, how do we keep house? Are we making the bed? Are we picking up clothes? Is the house clean and tidy? Because if we're not able to take care of our own home, there's so many more things following that we will not be able to take care of.
Okay. I want to dive into that.
Okay. Because it's such a good one.
This is really good. Yeah. You'll love this one. No, lack of money is no excuse for a disorderly home. It can be neat and clean, even if you are using store boxes for furniture.
Absolutely. Dude, what was that round thing we used to get with the wires? What were those tables? They were like, they used to...
A Lazy Susan?
No, a table. And we turn it spool. They were like a giant spool, and people would have wires, construction workers, and we'd turn, I guess...
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it's
like
a big spool.
Thing.
They would wrap wire around it, and then you turn it on its side, and it's like a ready-made table.
Yeah.
Yeah, like literally, it can still be clean and neat no matter what you have within the house.
Exactly.
It can always be neat and clean. Now, it kind of brings up a conversation about like, well, what's natural to you? Some people are naturally a little bit less.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The whole alchemy, and that goes back to the Ultimate Life Tool. We'll put a link in the show notes if you want to go through that amazing patented assessment. You've heard us talk about it before. People have different features in alchemies. Here's where I take it. Clean is clean. There is not an alchemy, and there's not a feature in the Ultimate Life Tool in our being that says it's okay to be dirty. Some people need to be a little bit more messy. Some people function better in chaos. Many people function better when it's neat and tidy, but dirt doesn't play a role.
Yeah, it may be a more organic environment, but that doesn't mean it's
but
dirty.
That's not like dirty. And I think that we can all benefit with some beginning of a system of order to the level that we desire and function at best.
Well, to me, that's the brilliance of the Ultimate Life Tools. It kind of tells you where home is for you. So you get to create a reasonable expectation for yourself. Now, if you are out there and you're a person who likes things a little bit messy and you try to go like Kisma levels of order, you're gonna go insane.
Yeah, you probably will.
It's going to
like
be
when Nick made the bed this morning, didn't put the pillows on. That number one.
Yet.
Yeah, you're like, you were in it. So let's just sidebar, everyone. Welcome to our world. I have a very high alchemy. It's painful, I know, and I like to create order. So the rule of the house is the last person up makes the bed. And
usually
Nick, usually him. He made the bed. I come in, and this is the second, so I'm just counting, second time, like within a few days, he didn't put the little pillows up
yet.
So that to me is an unmade bed. However, I walk in and he's on the floor doing yoga. I'm like, why didn't you completely make the bed? And his words are, I didn't get around to it yet. That is not making the bed. That's not using the law of compensation to the highest and best. Just FYI.
I would disagree.
Yeah, don't. Let's go back to the regular scheduled program.
Just to say, you don't get to say all that. And I get to say one thing is that I hadn't done it yet. And you know me well enough to know that I do things in my own time. So maybe I'm not going to say no, but I duly noted. Duly noted. Right? We got that.
It was not the completion of the bed making process.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay. Onward. Let's get back to
onward.
Let's get back to the genius here.
Let's get back to this. Okay. So, but this other part I think is really important where he says, it is useless to pray for a new home if you cannot take care of your present one.
Thank you. That is amazing. New home, new business, new bank account.
New relationship.
Why would someone expect a new relationship if they couldn't take care of the one they were in?
Right.
So essential.
It's the mind wanting to get to that other place and skip all the steps. Okay. Is really what's happening is a big old bypass of the steps that are needed in order to have whatever that thing is that you want. One of the places that I see this most prevalently, he says a home here, but I see it in relationships. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're in a relationship and things aren't going that great and you're having a tough time and you're struggling and you just want a new relationship. You just want, somebody else is going to be the thing and they're going to be the perfect one and it's all going to be great. Well, but your current relationship is a wreck.
Yeah. Okay? So true.
But I want to break that down. I'm not saying that you should stay in that relationship.
Yeah.
That may very well not be the right relationship for you. What I am saying is, number one, clean up the mess.
Clean up the mess.
Okay. Step 2. Nope, not time for a new relationship yet. Step 2, complete that relationship.
Right.
Do it in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Right. Do it in a really beautiful, loving way in the best and highest way that you possibly can. Step 3, maybe now is the time that you start attracting in a new relationship, but don't do that if you haven't decided really clearly what it is that you actually want.
Right.
Right. Otherwise, you wind up unconsciously recreating the same patterns again and again and again. That's exactly how people do that. And I think relationships to me are one of the best examples of that, but they'll do it with
They're everywhere.
Stuff. Yeah.
Well, relationships are everywhere.
Yeah. You buy stuff and you don't take care of it. And then you need to buy a new thing. Okay. Well, and you want something better this time. Okay, great. But you're just going to destroy it.
Right.
So better to clean up your side of the street and start to really hone in those little things that send it sideways that require you to keep going back into the world, into the world, back into something else so that you can more naturally attract and sustain what it is that you have in your life.
I love it. It's a little bit like when he says in working with the law that in order to attract something better, we need to be bigger, larger, better. It's like to have that container where something greater, whether like you just said, Nick, it's a relationship, it's a new position, it is a business, whatever, we need then to be better.
Exactly. His words, back to the book here, the principle involved is that when you become too large for your present place, you will begin to draw yourself to something larger. You cannot attract the better until you first become larger. You must earn what you receive or you cannot keep it.
So good.
So there's a lot in those couple sentences. Now, one I think is cool. I don't know if he thinks about it this way, but energetically, the energetic principle behind that is that you have a container
Right.
for what you have in your life. Some people's containers, their energetic containers are a total mess. Like you think Pigpen level mess, there's just stuff everywhere.
Right.
And that will reflect in their life. And there's also a size to that and a resiliency to it.
Right.
And all these interesting nuances. There's a container for your wealth. You have a container for wealth.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And if you want more wealth, then that container needs to be not only clean, but also expanded in order to be able
Healthy,
to hold
expanded,
that.
right. Better,
Yeah.
brighter, shinier.
Exactly. So there's an energetic principle underlying this that I think is really important, and he speaks directly to it, and there is a piece of it that has to do with volume, just being bigger. And I've seen so many times where people are starting to break through and they're starting to expand. And then it gets kind of uncomfortable, and then they backpedal.
Yeah.
And all the things that were going well and we're starting to move, they shut it all down.
Right.
And they think, this is the misunderstanding, they think that they're going to go back to where they were.
Right.
Not so.
Yeah. They get their butts kicked.
It shrinks by 50%.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're in a much, much smaller world.
Right.
And that is where energetically people will say, they say, the phrase goes, well, I just feel like the world is closing in on me. You're right.
It is.
You're right, because your energy and all the stuff in it is closing in on you. And then that whole container is getting so small and constricted that you literally can't move in your life. That is the opposite of freedom.
I feel like it's never worthwhile and beneficial to go backwards. And, the past, like going back to learn a lesson, but when we're making headway in our business or whatever, and we want to go backwards, it's not going to work.
That's right. That's right. I hear this one a lot in the personal growth realm of where people want to go, they want to get back into their childlike, exuberance, or, go back into their childhood and all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That's
I guess there's a reason for it, right? There's a healing that happens.
There can be healing that happens. It's not, but they want to live as a child, basically. That is going in the wrong direction. What's going in the right direction is say, how can I bring that same childlike curiosity and vibrance into my world now?
Yeah, that's really, really good. Because I've heard people have come to me and said, well, I'm checking in with my inner 4-year-old. And I'm like thinking to myself, man, I'd be like in big fat trouble if I checked in with my inner 4-year-old. It would not go well.
I just
4 to 24 did not go well.
Right. Throw a tantrum.
But I like that. So bring the healing, bring the childlike curiosity in.
Yeah. It's the same with anything. Like if you've had a certain area of your life or something that you've been really successful with, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is then they want to go do something different. Like maybe like Kisma, where, you're like, time for a change.
Right.
All right. Well, if you just go change everything and you don't bring with you the core of the skill set and the essence of who you are into what you're doing.
Right.
Well, then you're just setting yourself up for frustration and failure.
Right. Exactly.
And struggle. However, when you move into something new, you want to bring with you the essence and the core of those things.
Right. Exactly. I like that. And again, it's like, here was one of my favorite quotes where he says, when you perform your tasks to the very best of your ability, or when you are thorough in your work and do it well, you infallibly bring out the best there is in you. I have to read that again, because to me, this is a statement where I get to breathe in like, oh man, we are in control and we can change things. And it's a perception. It's a choice change. When you perform your tasks to the very best of your ability, or when you are thorough in your work and do it well, you infallibly bring out the best there is in you. That's the law of compensation. And it's not like the world isn't giving me what I deserve, or I deserve more, or this. Just be doing what you do to the very best of your ability and face forward. Don't look back. Don't feel like someone should give you something that they didn't do. Stay in your lane, do the very best at what you do.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That's the essence of personal responsibility.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the result is, and it's the use of the law of compensation, things will get better. So if you're feeling low, or if you're feeling like something isn't working, do what you do to the very best of your ability.
Right.
And keep doing that.
And the tendency for people when things are not working is to go one of two directions. Is when something's not working in your life, you'll either check out from it, screw it, not my problem, not my fault, I'm on to something different. Or they go over to the other end of the spectrum and they're like, I'm going to will this thing and I'm going to make it happen, right? And
becomes very painful.
Becomes very hard and gets kind of heavy. So what you're talking here, what he's talking about, I think is a middle road that says, continue to do your best, right? Which is like, okay, great. We got that in fourth grade, first grade, really, is just do your best, do your best. Right. But really, I think when we dive into this simple thing, it's like bringing your best and that level of excellence that you are capable of to whatever task you have at hand.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it may be something that you're new at. Mm-hmm. If you're learning a new skill, you're probably going to suck.
It could very well be. Remember those days as musicians? Well, I'm going to play what? Yeah, totally.
And it sounded horrible. And so what? You keep going. If you're just like, well, this is going to suck and I'm going to suck at it. All right. Then you will continue to suck.
Exactly. I had a client today and I switched her language because there was a thing like, oh, after we do something great, for instance, when this goes well, then it doesn't. I was like, no. And yes, there are ups and downs in business. We understand that, but we don't want to predict that, say we have a great month or a great quarter, that the next one isn't going to be great.
Exactly.
We want to be able to handle the flow, the ups and the downs, and just keep rising, keep doing everything to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Then that's really your only job, is to bring your best to whatever it is that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Even if it's something that you think you shouldn't be doing or shouldn't have to do, or something that that is maybe not your zone of genius, but just needs to get done.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I used to do
bring
that
your best to it.
Back in the yoga studio days, man. If the floor needed mopped, I was in there doing it.
You're awesome at that.
Now I understand my alchemy would not allow it to be like dirty.
Alchemy worked for you there.
It really did. And that's part of it. It's, he has a beautiful share in this book where there was a business, small little restaurant food business. It was going down the tubes and the owners sold it and new owners came in, scrubbed the floors, scrubbed the walls, put up a pretty sign, started to treat their customers with love and respect, and the business flourished, of course, because what they gave into the business, what they put into the business, they received.
That's right.
And that's the law of compensation.
Yeah, it's such a great story.
Yeah. So love on what you do. Give it your best. What you're putting in, you're going to get out of it.
Right. And do that even when it is not the things that are your zone of genius, which I'm a firm believer. I don't know that you've converted me, but Gay Hendricks with The Big Leap has converted me into really like that's actually a really important thing.
Yeah.
That's way more important than I gave it credit for. I can't wait to dive into that. But even if it's not within that zone, or if it's something that you just don't want to do, whatever, you still require to bring your best to it. Why? Because that's your job.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's your job, whether it's your own business or whether it's in a company or whether it's just in a relationship. Maybe I need to bring my best to making that bed in the morning, I guess. Doing that a little bit more efficiently.
Pull the sheets nice and tight. I know I'm a little obsessive.
Take the ownership.
It's difficult. It's difficult being with me sometimes. I get it, but I'm bringing my best. You
do that. There's a great quote here that I thought is really relevant. The business reflects the mind of the organization.
Oh, so true. Say that again.
The business reflects the mind of the organization. The organization reflects the mind of its chief.
Oh man, we could say that about countries and governments.
We could.
And hospitals.
But do we really want to go
We
there?
will. We shall not. Not on this podcast. We shall not.
There's a whole podcast right in that.
Right.
And that's a place where leadership is not just for people who want to like run companies or do something big or, lead a team or whatever that is. Leadership is for every person. Every single human being needs to understand leadership.
Absolutely. For your family, for your health, for your home, whatever it is.
It is all principles of leadership.
Yeah.
And what he's saying here is, and I think I love this analogy of thinking, like, think about your life as a business. Even if you don't have a business, if you have a job or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Think about your life, though, as a business. You're the CEO. So all the things in your life are going to be a reflection of the mind of that CEO, i.e. you.
Right.
Right. And then if you had a business, like, would your business, I just like to play with these concepts. Like, would your business be doing well? Would your business be thriving? Would your business be struggling? Are you out of business?
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
Right. Like all these things, it kind of comes into play, and it really comes back to the seed of that. And you see this, like, go out when you look at companies and organizations, you look at the leadership. I don't know a lot about investing. But I have read some books on it, some basically leadership books on that. And what I've discovered is that certainly when investors are looking at a business to put money into it, they're doing their due diligence with the numbers, but ultimately the people who really operate at a high level, they want to know who's in charge.
Right.
That's
exactly.
it. And if they know that person's got their act together, they're good.
Right. So true.
And if that piece isn't in place, they're out.
I love it. How do we know? How does one know if they're using the law of compensation to the best of their ability to thrive, to be happy, to create wealth, health, love, spirituality?
Oh, I can answer that. You're not.
What do you mean?
There's always room for improvement.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yeah. There's always room for improvement, but I don't want to be like despairing.
But are you using it to the best of your ability? I guarantee you're not. Unless you have everything in your life that is exactly as you want.
Fair enough. Well, I wanted to present I wanted to help our listeners too.
We're helping.
Okay. It's a fun one, isn't it, guys?
You and I help in different ways.
We do. So there were a couple of questions posed that we can ask ourselves to know at what level are we using the law of compensation. And this is such a great question. Do you expect something for nothing?
Ooh.
Man, let's not, my solar plexus just lit up. Let's not expect something for nothing. And you know what, guys? What's so important is that this translates and permeates into how we view people. If we have a business, this can permeate into how we're viewing other people's success, how we're viewing people on social media. And really, I was just teaching on this last night to some students. It will diminish our prosperity when we look out and think, well, why are they getting it and we're not?
Ooh.
It's such a crusher. Because we don't know what someone else has put in, and all we know is what we're putting in, and just keep putting in. So if you're expecting something for nothing, avoid that.
You're upside down.
You're upside down.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it this way, the other is, do you feel good when you invest? Do you feel good when you go and buy that piece of clothing that maybe was expensive, but boy, do you feel great in it? That should be pleasing. I don't want to use the word should, but that can be pleasing. And you will be like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like $1 million.
I'm with you. I think this is probably that's a key area where people turn their lives and their prosperity upside down is expecting something for nothing. And they don't think that they're doing it.
Right. Exactly.
Because we look at what has become free in our world with the advent of the internet and the access to information. There is a much different expectation about what we should pay for and what is actually value. It has distorted value to a major degree.
Right.
To where you can go out, like, you don't need to buy a set of encyclopedias anymore. You can just use the Google.
Exactly. Right.
So it's shifted certain things.
Truly has.
But it's an understanding of what is truly valuable and then putting money behind that. So in a really practical way, if you're a person who's like using Wikipedia constantly, donate to the site.
Yeah, that's so true.
They rely on that. That's how that site stays afloat. Like, pay for what you value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really true.
Whether it be like, well, the lady who cuts my hair is, she does I personally think
she does a good job.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Kisma approved. Awesome. And she does it quickly. I'm in and out of there in 20 minutes.
That's pretty cool.
I know. I love that, and not a lot of dilly-dallying. She knows just the right amount of talking and everything like that. She charges me a certain amount, and I am definitely paying her more.
Yeah.
Like I'm giving her a really good tip because I'm in and out of there fast. She's reliable and she does a great job.
That's great.
And I really value it. And my personal feeling is like, okay, great. I'm going to pay what I want to pay for that because that's valuable to me.
I love that. That is so good. And another question is like, are you bargain hunting?
Bargain hunting.
Now,
oh no, Kisma's going to go with the bargain hunting.
Well, here's the thing. When you look for something that is cheap, you're going to attract cheap returns in many areas of your life. Having said that, I also feel that there's wise spending. So how do I put this? It's like if you're looking at airline fares and there's two options, one is 300 and one is 800 and it's the same, like, of course, take the 300.
Right.
That's a no-brainer. But if you're stopping your growth, your travel, whatever, because you can't find the cheapest deal, you're in a very cheap mindset. Yeah. And you're only going to attract cheaper things, meaning your finances back towards you.
And I want to add one more layer to that of like, okay, so there's a difference of $500. You got a $300 flight and an $800 flight. All right. When the $800 flight has a huge layover and it's going to spend you a whole extra day in travel. And you're going to go for that one to save the money. Well, what are you?
You're going to spend $200 hanging out at the airport, people.
Exactly. You're bargain hunting and you're bargaining yourself out of number one, what you really want. And number two, what, really would serve your highest and best.
Exactly. It's so important. Think of the value. Think of how precious time is. Right. Here's something else that's really good. Raymond here, Hollowell, we'll get to the big leap soon, but he says, do you begrudge spending money? So are you fearful around bills? Do you hate paying bills? Do you talk badly about paying bills? This is something that is really worth looking at. Again, last night I was teaching a group of students mindset to get your prosperity set, and we were diving into some of these. And there was a gal that was having an issue around money, and I was like, "Open up your mic, let's go. What's going on?" And she would get a new client only to look at where all the money was going out to pay bills. And I was like, "Oh wait, so you made a really great sale, and your immediate pivot was how the money was going out." I was like, that isn't going to work consistently. We want to handle our bills and everything wisely, but it's like it became this negative, right? Yeah. So I know you're thinking about something, say it.
Well, that's the key to it is it became a negative.
It became a negative.
The monetary discernment of, okay, this money's coming in and I know that this is going
money comes, money goes. It's energy, it flows.
That's awesome. No problem there. Right. That's monetary discernment. When it becomes like, oh, it's got to go here. I got to send it. Then it gets heavy. And that's the key point.
Exactly.
Yeah, super good. Wow. That's really cool.
And then people are focused often at getting to zero. Well, I want to get to zero debt. I want to pay. I'm like, whoa, we don't want to get to zero. You want to leverage your debt for business and even personal, whatever, growth, play, be responsible. But don't think about getting to the number zero because your income is going to go to zero.
Right.
So it is that it's so important how we view each and every aspect, putting that praise of like, oh, this just came in. Oh, that's cool. I can pay that, and that, and build upon the foundation of what came in to make it more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Super cool.
Is there another question? These are good questions.
They're good questions. I think that was, those were the main ones. Like, you trying to get something for nothing? Do you begrudge spending? And what was the other?
Are you constantly looking for bargains?
Are you constantly looking for bargains? It's just not worth it. Take the sale when it's there. And I love to shop too. And I think it's fun when something's on sale. Great, buy it. This is how I look at it. I no longer buy anything because it's on sale. I only buy it because I love it. And if it happens to be on sale, that's a perk.
Yeah.
But going and buying, you'll see when you go and buy because it's on sale, you end up spending more.
Yep.
If you're going to the store with a bunch of coupons, chances are you're buying some stuff that you really wouldn't have bought anyways, and you're spending more. If you happen to have a coupon for that cat food, awesome. If not, just get what you need, what you love, etc.
Right.
That's my philosophy on shopping.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So at the end of the day, it really is about this personal accountability and personal, seeing things as precious in nature and being willing to give our best, do our best, be our best in order to attract the best towards us. Wouldn't you say?
I would.
Do you have something to add?
Raymond,
a little closer?
Raymond has something to add.
All right, Raymond, bring it.
And he says here, each experience through which we pass operates ultimately for our good. All experience is for our good, and we must be able to see it in that light. So it speaks directly to that preciousness,
right?
And the discernment of really being present to what is appearing in our lives.
Right.
I personally don't believe in accidents or coincidence.
No such thing.
People can argue that and enjoy that, but at the end of the day, these things are showing up,
right?
And there's always something there for us. There's such a richness, and it really just requires the willingness to slow down and to appreciate what is there, so that we can move through that and with that into the next level of your life, whatever that might be for you.
Right.
So yeah, I just love it.
Well, here's a little, I was thinking of an action tip to help our listeners, something that you can do to begin to notice when you go into the bargain hunting, the lack, waiting for the world to give you something. And again, whenever we're doing the inner work, it's not about making ourselves wrong, beating ourselves up. It's just about the awareness. So I would suggest have a little notebook with you every day for like a week or two. And when you notice your mind going into, oh, how come this isn't working for me? Just write down that little thought flow and make note. When you're being in the mindset of, oh man, the world just, isn't giving me what I deserve, write it down. At the end of the day, you can do a quick observation. You'll probably notice you might have been hungry, angry, lonely, tired. That is still not an excuse to go against the law of compensation. So you want to look at how can you fill yourself up? What can you do to pivot that mindset? Taking time to write down all the things that did work, all the things that you do have. We always talk about this gratitude as a soothing emotion, and gratitude fills the bank of harmony, of love, of spirituality, even of wealth and health.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. So awareness, observation, and pivot those thoughts.
Yeah. My tip around this is a little bit broader, and it's very, very simple. It's just whenever you see a situation, certainly one that is not entirely to your liking, is ask yourself, well, where can I take a little bit more responsibility here? So
good. You learn the lessons, man.
Yeah.
And it's empowering.
Yeah. Where can I take a little bit more responsibility in my life for my results? I'm not saying, certainly we want to get to the end point of that 100%, that's where we want to get, because that's your true empowered state. But in the meantime, take it step by step. Take it step by step.
And it's not to say it's okay when someone is harming you, hurting you. It's not to even say it's okay when life really isn't working out, but it's to look through it, beyond it, to see somewhere in that challenging situation, there's a glimmer, there's a lesson, there's a gold nugget. And when we're only focused on what isn't working, we miss that.
Yeah.
And when we can focus on, all right, man, for crying out loud, this might have seemed challenging. What's the lesson? You will get it. And then you'll pivot and elevate and create something more substantial and amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Well, I can't wait.
I know.
We're going to wrap up this series next week with my personal favorite, which is the law of non-resistance.
Oh, it's a good one.
It's a really
so
good one.
Yeah.
so I'm very excited about that. This has been super fun.
So fun. And hey, we'd so appreciate if you took this episode and shared it on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, tweet it out, share it with people. We really want to reach more people and make a greater impact. And having said that, I so appreciate you for listening to us now. You're in our hearts, and much love and many blessings coming your way.
Namaste.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.